Have you ever looked out your window and realized someone built a mansion on your land? Yeah, it sounds insane, but that's exactly what happened to me. My HOA president, the woman who enforced every little rule, from mailbox height to lawn color, decided my empty lot would be the perfect place for her dream house. She built it without permission, without a deed, without shame. And when I confronted her, she told me I was mistaken. But the truth behind this story? It'll shock you. Because this wasn't just about stolen land. It was about power, corruption, and how one small neighborhood nearly fell apart because of it. By the end, I didn't just take my land back. I took everything she thought she could control. In this story, you'll see how one HOA president twisted the system to steal private property, how I exposed a secret alliance that went all the way up the chain, and how the final court decision changed my life, and hers, forever. So, how did an ordinary homeowner beat an entire HOA empire? Let me show you exactly how this happened. I live in a gated neighborhood called Maple Ridge Estates. It looked perfect: manicured lawns, quiet streets, smiling neighbors. But behind the smiles was the HOA. If you've ever dealt with one, you know the type: rules for everything, fines for nothing, and a board that acts like royalty. Our president, Karen Miller, was the queen. Late 40s, pearls, pressed blazers, that frozen smile that hides a dagger. She loved order, and her version of order meant her control. When I bought 2 adjoining plots years ago, I kept one as an investment. Plot 42. Empty. Mine. Until one day, I drove by and saw concrete trucks, bulldozers, and workers building a foundation. My name wasn't on any permit. I hadn't sold the land. Yet the HOA had approved construction. I thought it was a mistake. But when I called the HOA office, they said the president had verified ownership. That's when the alarms went off. I pulled my deed, my tax receipts, and photos of the empty lot, all proof. Still, the HOA's attorney said the records show a boundary adjustment. But I never signed one. Never even saw one. Then I learned the shocking truth. Karen had redrawn the map herself. Now here's where things get really interesting. When I dug into the paperwork, I found something bizarre. A document labeled Community Alignment Plan. It had my signature, forged perfectly. According to that file, I had donated 10 feet of land to optimize community layout. That fake donation gave her enough space to claim my entire lot as a boundary correction. It was a con wrapped in HOA paperwork. I went to the county clerk, and that's when everything exploded. Because according to their database, ownership had been updated 2 months earlier. The name now read, Karen Miller, President, Maple Ridge Estates HOA. She didn't just fake my signature. She filed it. She made it official. I asked how that was possible. The clerk shrugged. If it's notarized, it's valid. Apparently, the notary was her cousin. That's when I realized she wasn't just powerful inside the HOA. She had built a mini empire of influence. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. When I told neighbors, most said, "Stay out of it. She always wins." But one man, Tom, a retired surveyor, pulled me aside. He said, "You're not the first one." Apparently, Karen had quietly adjusted 3 other property lines before. Each one was small enough that owners didn't notice or didn't fight. Until now. I gathered every document I could find, emails, permits, invoices, and started building my case. I knew the HOA meetings were public, so I showed up with a projector. In front of 50 homeowners, I displayed the map overlays, mine versus hers. When the lines flashed up, the room gasped. Karen's smile froze. But she didn't back down. She called me, confused. She said I was harassing the board. The next morning, I got an email, a violation notice for disruptive conduct. She fined me $500 for exposing her fraud. That's when I decided, enough. If she wanted a fight, she'd get one. But this time, I'd use her own system against her. I hired a property attorney, a quiet guy named Daniel Briggs, who specialized in HOA law. He told me something I'll never forget. Most people don't realize HOAs act like mini governments. They have power, but only if no one challenges them. So we challenged. Daniel filed a temporary injunction, freezing all construction. The next day, the work stopped. But then, a new surprise. Karen filed a counterclaim, saying I was trespassing on community property. She claimed the land belonged to the HOA now. And since she was building the official clubhouse, she had full authority. Clubhouse? It was her mansion. But she had rewritten the project proposal, renaming it Community Executive Residence. She wasn't building a house. She was building her palace with HOA funds. Our lawyer traced the accounts. Sure enough, thousands of dollars in maintenance fees were being rerouted to construction costs. And she'd signed every check herself. When we presented the evidence in discovery, her lawyer went silent. Then we uncovered the final layer. She'd used her cousin's notary seal for 8 other documents, all fraudulent. Her web of control wasn't random. It was engineered. At this point, we weren't just dealing with a boundary dispute. It was embezzlement. But I wasn't ready for what came next. Late one night, my mailbox was smashed. My security camera caught 2 men in hoodies. A note was taped to my door. Drop the case. Move out. It wasn't signed. But we both knew who sent it. That's when fear turned into fire. I posted the footage online. It went viral. Hundreds of comments from people dealing with corrupt HOAs. Reporters started calling. Suddenly, the little suburban drama became a national story. Karen held an emergency HOA meeting, closed to residents. But someone recorded it. In the audio, you could hear her say, "If we lose this, we lose everything." That's when I knew she was scared. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. During court proceedings, our lawyer subpoenaed the HOA's financial records. Buried in a PDF of transactions was a payment labeled Architect Retainer. The name? Her brother-in-law. Then another, landscaping contractor. That one was her husband's company. She'd built her empire by turning HOA dues into a family business. When the judge saw the evidence, his expression didn't change, but the room felt it. Everyone knew this wasn't about land anymore. It was about abuse of power. Then came the twist. Her attorney argued that since the HOA had approved the project, it was collective ownership. But Daniel pointed out one overlooked fact. The HOA charter explicitly required a member vote for any community construction. There was no vote. Just her signature. The judge leaned back, adjusted his glasses, and said, "Mrs. Miller, this isn't a clubhouse. It's theft under a different name." Silence. She tried to speak, but the gavel came down. The court ruled in my favor. Ownership restored. Her position was revoked. And the HOA was ordered to repay every dollar used illegally. That day, I walked up to the mansion, my land, now half-finished, silent, empty. It was mine again. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt relieved. Because I realized something bigger. If one HOA president could pull this off, how many others are out there doing the same? So what does all this mean for us today? Here's what I learned, and what every homeowner should know. HOAs were designed to protect property values. But without oversight, they can destroy them. One signature, one closed-door vote, one power-hungry person, that's all it takes. Karen's downfall exposed more than a scandal. It sparked reform. Our county changed verification rules. Every boundary change now needs double signatures and third-party review. That's progress. But for me, it was also personal. I spent months fighting fear, lies, and intimidation. There were moments I almost gave up. But every time I drove by that half-built mansion, I remembered. Silence helps them win. If you ever feel powerless against a system, remember, paperwork has power. Truth has power. And courage, even quiet courage, can bring down a giant. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. After the case closed, I got a letter from Tom, the retired surveyor who'd helped me. Inside was a photo, my lot, before construction. And on the back, he'd written, "Justice builds stronger foundations than concrete ever will." A week later, the HOA held a new election. For the first time, people showed up, over 90% turnout. They chose transparency, not tyranny. Karen? She moved out quietly. Her mansion was sold at auction. And every time I pass by that place, I remember how it started, with one woman's arrogance and one man's refusal to be erased. Because this wasn't just about land. It was about standing your ground, literally. If this opened your eyes, stay with me. Because stories like this happen every day, hidden behind white fences and friendly smiles. So let's recap. One HOA president tried to steal a neighbor's property. She forged signatures, funneled money, and abused her position. But the system she built collapsed, because one person decided to fight back. That person could be you, your neighbor, or anyone who believes in fairness. If you're watching this, you already know, power without accountability always ends the same way. So here's what you can do. Backhand index pointing right. Step 1. Always keep copies of your property documents. Backhand index pointing right. Step 2. Attend HOA meetings, even when they're boring. Backhand index pointing right. Step 3. If something feels off, investigate. Quietly. Thoroughly. Because you never know what's hiding in your own neighborhood. If you found this story eye-opening, hit subscribe, because I've got another one coming. The HOA that tried to ban a wheelchair ramp until a judge stepped in. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. I didn't just win a lawsuit. I reclaimed my voice. And sometimes, that's the most valuable land of all.